Yeah, we look into the summarization of the last class what we covered. Okay, so in the last class I covered 10 EL implicit objects. The 11th one is pending, which one? Page context. So 10. So I'll just summarize what those 10 EL implicit objects are. See this, when you're writing your web application, there are something called as parameters. And there are two parameters what we are discussing right now. One is the context parameter and the other would be request parameter. So these two parameters are present in which EL implicit object? Context parameter is present in, this is the EL implicit object. That value you will be finding in this EL implicit object. Remember that. Yeah, it is init param. Remember now. Okay. A request parameter will be there in two locations, param and param values. Single parameter it will be in param. One param having multiple values will be in param values. So it will be there in both the locations, param comma param values. I'm just summarizing. Then we saw attributes. How many types of attributes are there? 4 types. Okay, page attribute, request attribute, session attribute, and context attribute. So where are these present now? This attribute. So which EL implicit object? Look at that thing, EL implicit object. It is present in page scope. Request is in request scope. Session attribute is in session scope. Context attribute is in application scope. Remember, these are attributes. So you know the difference between parameter and attribute. Parameters are set by container. Attributes are set by developer. That major difference you should know. So depending on the value, start fetching the value. Understood? From the corresponding EL implicit object. If it is parameter, get it from there. If it is attribute, get it from here. Then how many over now? 1, 2, 3 plus 4. 7 EL implicit objects over. Pending is 3. Okay. Yes. The next value what we are going to see is cookie. The cookie values are present in which EL implicit object? Cookie. Done. Then header values are present in which EL implicit object? Header and header values. Finished now. Simple. Over. 10 EL implicit objects over. Clear? So yeah, 10 EL implicit objects over. So these are the 4 values and it is present in this 10 EL implicit objects. And practically, if you see, to be very precise, how EL objects can be used in an application. See, when the request comes from the UI, it will always be according to MVC, according to model view controller. Okay, always the request will be accepted by a servlet. This would be the servlet. And here you got 6 objects. Remember this. Okay, you can work in a servlet. When you're working with a servlet, you can use only what? 6 objects, not more than that. And that too, they are all, which one? Which are the 6 objects? First one, request. You can give any variable name here, because you are going to give the variable name. But I'll write HTTP servlet request. Second one would be response. Third one would be config. Okay, then context, session, out. Session and out object. And here these are explicit. In the 6 objects, 1, 2, 3 are what? Implicit objects. These 3 are explicit objects. You should be very clear with this concept. These are implicit. Implicitly they are available in the servlet. And these 3 are explicit, means you have to get the reference explicitly. Request.get session, get servlet context, response.get writer. You have to get the references to all these 3 objects explicitly. Fine. So once the request is accepted by the servlet, you'll code here whatever logic you want, you'll write. And then for presentation, you'll forward it to what? JSP. From here it will come now. I'll just draw it back. Clear? Request will be accepted by servlet. Servlet will interact with the database and all that, leave it. Okay. So are you clear now? These are, one second. There are 6 objects, out of which these 3 are implicit objects and these 3 are explicit objects, and they'll contain the corresponding values. Now why EL support is not given in servlet and why it is given in JSP? Because it is useful in presentation. That's the reason they are giving you the EL support in JSP. That's all, nothing else. Done? So it will be, now the request will be forwarded to which one now? JSP. Now what happens? The JSP's life cycle will start. JS will get converted to .java first time. Second time onwards, directly it will execute the service method. Now the life cycle will start. JSP to Java, compilation, service method, it will give the response, and next request it will directly execute. That life cycle you know. But when the JSP is getting converted to Java, okay, so now there will be 18 implicit objects. Which are there? Request, response, you know the 4 which one? JSP implicit objects. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. These are which one? JSP implicit objects. I have written the names in the last class. Okay, request, response, config, application, session, out, all those JSP implicit objects. And apart from that, you will have 10 EL implicit objects. That is the thing here. Okay, so there will be 10 EL implicit objects. So EL implicit object. Done? They are implicitly available. Now, which are these? Param values, header values, init param, page scope, request scope, whatever. So now see, when these objects are getting created, okay, the container itself only will retrieve. See, here there are only, these are the 8 objects. These are the 8 JSP objects. So actually when the request is forwarded from the servlet to JSP, values were there only in which object? These 8 objects. But now what will container do? It will collect the values from those 8 JSP implicit objects and store it into what? In the map objects. These are the map objects. Which are the map objects? Param values, header value. So it will only store. You don't have to worry. So and in the JSP, this is your JSP now. Understood? In the JSP, if you want to access it, you can access it. Understood? So you'll be going with the dot operator or with the square bracket, depending on whether you want the parameter or you want the attribute, or you want the header value or the cookie value. You can use either of dot operator and square bracket, and you can access the value and you can do the response. So the whole idea of the support is only simple. Remember the basic thing what we need. We don't want to write the Java coding in JSP. That is why this rich support has been provided to the developer. Understood? So accessing the elements to display now becomes very easy. This is the practical usage now. Are you clear with this? So are you clear with the JSP implicit object and the EL implicit object? Clear? Fine. So this is the what we covered in the last class. This is the summarization. If your concepts are clear here, now only I have to show you what? How to store values in servlet and how to get those values to display in JSP, because practically this is what will happen now. So next all examples will be focused on this itself. Okay, so in the servlet now you'll start storing the values in many ways. Sometimes you'll put it into TO and send, sometimes you'll put it into list and send to JSP, sometimes you'll put it into an array and send. It depends. See, the servlet will be interacting with database, remember. It will fetch all the values. Okay, it will fetch all the values. Now those values, it depends now. We programmers, what we'll do? Sometimes those values what we get from the database or whatever values we get, we'll put it into the TO and send it to display. Or we'll put it into the collection and send it to display. Or we'll put it into an array and send to display. Many scenarios will come. So we developers do not have a fixed thing here. Always put the value in TO and send, or always put the value in a list and send, or always put the value in a map and send. There are no fixed rules. According to our requirement, we will be deciding whether we want to store the value in array list, link list, tree set, hash set, whatever it is. So based on that, what you have to do? Collect the values and display here. Okay. So we saw one rich support. If the values are stored in the TO, we have got one very good support, that is standard actions. So standard actions is helpful only when you want to display the value and it is a TO. But it will not give support for all these things now. Okay, so we'll see now how EL will come in and give you the support for doing this kind of displays now. So keep this basic in mind. Now whatever we learn will be only what? Concept. And it's a new syntax what you are learning now. Some few more examples you could automatically will get the grip onto it. It's very simple now. Yeah? So that's what we'll be seeing now. Are you clear with the whole concept now? So you'll see more examples now. What I'll be doing? Request will come to servlet. Servlet I'll fill the attributes. Obviously in the servlet I have to fill what? Attributes only. So those attributes will definitely be in which objects now? Definitely you cannot fill it into the page scope in servlet because you don't have page object in servlet. So in the servlet I'll fill it in either request scope, session scope or context scope. Think practically. And now those values have to display in the JSP. So obviously you'll always be using which one now? Either request scope or session scope or application scope. That's it. Practically if you see. Done now? So we'll see some examples now. And for your information, never forget this diagram. This is the most crucial diagram. These are the objects which are present in what? Your JSP, hello.jsp. Okay, these are the EL, these bottom ones are the EL implicit objects, the which one I draw now. Okay, and the top one are the JSP implicit objects. If you want to get the, remember now again, finally I'm telling you, if you want the value from the JSP implicit object in the JSP, you should write Java code. Request.get parameter, request.get attribute, request.get header, anything like that. Understood? So if you want the value from any of these objects, you'll be using Java code. Okay, or session.get attribute, something like that. Okay, and if you want to get the value from this, you can use EL, don't use Java. How will you use? Dot operator or square bracket. You'll get the value now. Understood? So difference is that how you want to get the value depends. Both will be used. Okay. So pay attention. From JSP implicit object you have to get it using Java code, request dot, something like that. And here you'll be writing map dot or something like that. Done? So fine. And but in the interview again I'm finally telling you how many implicit objects does the JSP have. If the interviewer questions you, your answer should be either 8 or 9. Depends. Okay. You tell 8. Now if it tells if no, there are 9 implicit objects, check. So the time you tell yes, 9th is there provided is error page is equal to true, the 9th will be the exception implicit object. That you have to tell. But never in the interview tell it has 18 implicit objects, because many people working in industry do not know what is EL. Understood? This is why information I'm telling you, and this will be very helpful when you learn more advanced technologies like JSF, struts and all that. This EL is very helpful when you learn more advanced technologies. Yeah? So fine, you'll understand how it will be used and all that. Fine, this is the whole story now. So now let's get back to examples. So, and last class I covered which one? Yeah, we have to, I put the value, we'll take this example, accessing attributes, or yeah, the 6th example I am going now. I showed you this output. In the login.html, I entered fname, lname, phone, it came to the servlet, request comes to the servlet. In the servlet what did I do? I put it into 3 different scopes. See, servlet you can put only 3 scopes. Request scopes, session scope, context scope. If you put it into any scope, now how you get the display in JSP? With JSP you'll get it like this, without Java code. But if you see with scripting, in scripting how will I get the values? As I told you, with Java code. If you're doing scripting you'll be getting it with Java code. Okay, and means if you use these objects, if you use JSP implicit objects, you'll write Java code. But if I use EL implicit objects, I'll use EL language, dot operator and all. Fine. So this output also you saw. Let me execute the program. It's taking time. So we are entering these values. A, second name is B, and phone number is 1111. Submit it, it will display. These values it's displaying, fine. In the EL we are displaying it in this way. Request scope dot F name. So today I'll be focusing more on the operators, dot operator and square bracket. You'll see the difference today. Okay. So I finished the summarization. See, you can access the value with either dot operator or with the square bracket, and that I'll discuss. But you understood now. Here, what is the idea? I'm saying here, if you write the syntax, it look in the particular scope. Here also it look in the particular scope. Request scope dot means in request scope only it look for what? F name, not in any other object. But if you write only F name, it will search in first page scope, not found, then it will go to request scope, not found, it will go to session scope, not found, it will go to not found anywhere, it will not display anything. So the main advantage of using EL is you will not get exceptions and errors. That's the reason we prefer to use what? EL. Unlike if you write Java code, if the value is not there, what will you get? No, null pointer exception, this error, that error you will get. So the main advantage, important, of using EL is we never get errors and exceptions or null values and all that. Understood? I mean, sorry, exceptions. And your page will 100% execute. If you use EL, 100% your page will execute, but display will not be saying anything. That's all. Okay. So that's the why we use EL now. So this is clear now, and now I'll move into what is dot operator and square bracket. Clear? So let's see now. See, to access, no, in EL there are two access operators we say. Okay, there are two access operators. One is dot operator and the other one is square bracket. Okay, so these are two operators. So here what you have to understand, this is the dot operator and this is the bracket, square bracket or whatever you can tell. This is one more operator. Dot operator and square bracket operator. So here, how you use syntax now. Dollar of something. One second. Dollar of something dot. I'm putting the dot in a big mark so that you can see it. Something dot something. Here the other one is square bracket. Dollar of something square bracket of something. So we should understand the difference between these two. That's all. Everything is okay now. Only the two operators. Why they give two operators to access. See what you have to understand now. When you use the dot operator, okay, always break this into two parts. Okay, when you have dot, this is one part and this is the other part. Here when you are using a dot, here on this left part, on the left side, it can either be a map object. If it is map, on the right hand side you have got something, no? It will be a key. It will be like this, yeah. If this is map, then this one will be key. And if this is bean, this would be property. Bean means TO. Bean means TO. Remember that. Here, same thing. There is no change. First two will remain same. First one is map. Second one would be key. Second one is bean. This will be property. That's okay. But you get two more extra support here. If it is list, this will be index. You can use index. Okay. And if it is an array, again you can use an index. So only two support extra come here. That's all. So whichever one you want, you can use. So if you want to display property, both will support you. But square bracket will be used when you want to display indexes. That's all. Understood? Dot can be used to almost all key. These two remain same. Anyone you can use. Extra, which one you'll be using? The square bracket only when you want to display the indexes. That's all. So we'll see this. Shall I clear this now? Okay, first I'll go with dot operator. I'll complete it. Then I'll go to square bracket. One you understand clearly, these two will focus now. Left hand side is map, right hand side should be key. And left hand side is bean, right side should be property. I'll focus on that now. That's all. That's the simplest syntax I got. Very simple syntax. Only have to get adjusted to this now. Same is, I have documented it. In EL, there are two access operators. Dot operator, bracket. Understood? Dot operator. Something dot something. What it will be? Left hand side is map, right hand side will be map key. Left hand side is bean, right hand side will be bean property. Bracket. Okay, something dot something. Left hand side is map, same thing. Map key. Left hand side is bean, right side will be bean property. If it is list, it will be index. If it is array, it will be simple. And having this knowledge, now we will refer to our example which we saw. Okay. Request scope dot f name. Now you tell what is request scope? Map. What is f name? Key. Simple, over. Here again you see what is request scope? Map. What is f name? Key. That's it. If it is map, this should be key. Again there also session scope map. Dot operator. Key. Application scope map. Key. Here also map key, map key. Done. What is there? Very simple. If you use only this, it can be an attribute. When you say something dot something, that's a different syntax. Understood? Means map or key. Map and key it will go. Or bean and property. Bean and property, next example I will give. Okay. Right now we are seeing the example for what? Map and key. If it is this, attribute. As I showed you this also in the document. Either it can be an EL implicit object or it can be an attribute. But it will search in all the scopes now. That you decide. Yeah. So once this is done, I will see more examples to get a good grip onto that dot operator. Understood? No, that's all. Only it's about. We have covered all the 10 objects. Some more examples I'll give now on the accessing the values. That's it. Yeah, see this. A very interesting example. I'm going with the TO now. I'll fill the values in the TO. Okay. So login.html. The next example, it is the 8th one. Careful. I've got HTML. If he enters the ID, the student will enter his ID. So you have to connect to database. Technically, no. Practically in the application it will be okay like this. You have to collect that ID, connect to database. Depending on the ID, you have to fetch all the values from the database. Where all this code you'll write? Servlet. All this code you'll be writing in Servlet. And after writing this code in Servlet, these values you have to display in JSP now. So how will you carry so many values? Now the student can have first name, last name, so many values. These many values you cannot carry it to JSP. It will be very difficult. That's why we carry it in an organized manner. All the values we'll put it into the TO. The TO will put it into what? Some scope. Any scope you have to send. Otherwise, how will you get the TO in JSP? So I can use any scope, request scope, session scope, context scope, anything. And in the JSP you have to display now. Flow is very simple now. Okay. So if you want to display now in the JSP, yes, you have an option, standard actions you have. So you can get this display using standard action also or using EL also. You decide which one you want. Understood? And experience will teach you when to use which one. So here you have both options now. Standard action support is also there. EL support is also there. You already written this. So see this. He is going to enter this. I show you the source code now. He enters the ID. Once he enters the ID, it will come to the servlet. It's the servlet which will interact with the database. Only thing is I am not interacting with database here. But actually we get these values dynamically. I have hard coded because my main focus is not JDBC here. My main focus is EL. So that's why what I am doing. I will only create the TO and fill the values here, hard coded. Okay. And remember, this conversion you have to do. Request.get parameter. Return type is string. You are getting the ID, but it is in the form of string. So before you may interact with the database, you should convert that to int. Okay, that is okay. So fine. Anyway, you will have the ID now, and all that will be there. So in the student, I am having 3 values now. Only 3 values. Assuming that in the database we are having only 3 values. Okay, I don't make the database subject complicated now. I just want to focus on the EL. Okay, so there are only 3 values: set name, set phone. So I'll fill it like this. And then what I'll do, it depends now in which scope I want to put. I decide to put this object in the session scope. I'll put it and I'll forward it. Okay, once I forward it, now in the JSP, see this is your TO. Student TO also I'll show you. Segregators, 3 properties, this one now. And now in the JSP, yes, there are two options. You actually have three options. One, scripting you can write. Two, standard actions you can use. Three, you can use EL. All three options are there for you. So I am showing you here with scripting. See, in scripting you have to do it like this. You can get the output, session dot get attribute, and check whether it is not null. If it is not null, like this hectic coding you have to write. And in between this, if you want to write presentation code, no, designer will die. So he'll make mistakes. Okay, he might delete something. Correct? Huh? Designer, what he might think? This tag is on wrong tag. He'll remove this. He doesn't know what is the difference between Java tag and all. So problems might occur. So that is why, see, even though I can get the output in using scripting, I should not do it. So either we have to depend on, this is, you can get the output, I show you. Okay, but you should depend on standard actions or EL. Okay, so let's see. So I'll show you how to get it with EL now. Standard actions are already covered. You can say use bean, get property. Only use bean and get property, that's it. So let's see this now with EL, very simple. You tell now what it is. Session scope is what? Map. TO is what? STO. Key. See here, this is the key. In the servlet, what did I do? Session dot set attribute of STO. This is the key. That's an attribute, correct? That becomes the key now. So here, session scope is the map. STO is the key. Only see these two things now. When you see one dot now, only two things you should see. So this is map, this is key. Now if STO is what now? Bean or TO, then this will become what? Property. Like that the access will start, deeper access. You can start accessing deeper. Okay, session scope dot STO dot student ID. Like that you'll start accessing. Clear? So it becomes interesting now. So this is the syntax now. One new syntax you're learning, that's it. Or you can also write STO.sname. That's also perfect. But problem now is it will search in all the scopes. First page scope it will search. STO it will search in page scope. Not found STO it will search in request scope. Not found it will search in session scope. There if it finds, fine. But here it will look into the particular scope. Okay. So now fine. And it will display. That is okay. How it works. But from our developer point of view, STO is what? Bean. Name is property. Left hand side again, STO is what? Bean. This becomes what? Property. So that's all. Only two you take. Don't see all the full syntax in one go. Only two you should take. Okay, first these two. After understanding these two, then you should take these two. Again after understanding that, if more are there, then next two. Like that you have to take. Clear? Perfect now. Your wish. Now see, designer can do his own work. He will not remove tags and all. At least these things designer will not get confused as compared to what? Scriptings, scriptlets and all that. Done? So fine. So we'll see the output. That's all. What is there here? So you got the login.html, execute this. So it's hard coded 101. Same 101 only it will display. Name is AAA, phone number is 111. And the same output, okay, see this. In servlet I send it to with el.jsp. If you want you can send it to what? Scripting.jsp also you send, it will display. I'm not telling no. See this. It's deployed. Make the new request. So I'll give the ID as 999, something a different ID. Yeah, submit. You can see the perfect. It is displaying from scripting.jsp. Okay. Now we are telling designer. One more thing is we also feel it quite complicated to write the code now. Forget designer. Even developer finds it very difficult to write what? Java code in JSP. So we developers also, if you want to display, we prefer to use what? ELR. Standard actions, something like that. So this is the display. So see, for developing web applications, plenty of rich support is there. Okay, now that is okay. You understood that syntax. Now, here we had, in this example, we had three options. One scripting, one standard actions, third EL. So you can decide, but I just showed you output for using EL. Now, why I showed you that is, okay, now we'll understand one scenario here. I'm going to the next example, ninth one. Sometimes in one TO, no, you'll have another TO. First you understand that point. What will happen? In one TO, you'll have another TO. Means, see this, there are two TOs now in this project. Address TO, student TO. Student TO is something like this. Student ID, name, phone, same. Those properties are same. But here we are having what? Address is a user defined type. Property, it's also on property, but it's of type user defined type. And it's of type what? Address TO. This is one practical scenario you'll be having in projects. TO inside TO you'll have. Now what is there in address TO? You might have a question. It will have these values. Three values are there. Area, city, country. So you'll be having two TOs like this. Okay. Now you might have a question. Why I should have two TOs? All the values I can put it into a single TO. Yes. As you code applications, you'll understand this. Actually, what happens is practically in databases, here I'm having what? Student and address, na? Yeah. Your student ID, then what? Name and phone, na? Yeah, student ID, name and phone will be kept where? In student table. Understood? You'll be having multiple tables in your database. Don't think that in database you'll have only a single table. Okay, in databases you'll have multiple tables. So some values will be storing in student and some values will be storing in what? Address table. Two tables will be there. And here you'll have address ID, area, city, street, like this will have. And values will be there. 101, name is AA, phone number 111, address ID 101, area whatever it is, you'll fill it. Like Rajaj Nagar, city Bangalore, or okay, it's tough. Area city, I'll take country. India, like this. You'll be storing the values. So these are the values which are there in the database. Okay, this is your database now. This is how it will be there. So in the UI, you'll make the request. Means you are giving the ID now. Enter student ID or whatever. You will ask the user to enter the ID. See, once he submits this, so what is that you will be doing now? You will connect to database. Yeah, this is your application now. You will be writing solid code here. You have to connect to database, fetch those values. Now what you will do, so now developer has to think whether you use collections, whether you use TO, all that he has to think. So you'll use your idea and you'll store the values, and that comes with experience. When to fill the value in which data type, means whether you use the TO data type or whether you use list or map, like that you'll decide. That is experience, you'll get it with the experience. So here in this scenario, we decide to put it into two TO. Why means, one TO will be exactly representing one table. That's how we actually write the code. One TO will actually be mapped. Mapped means it's like this. See, here I have one student TO, class student TO. So how many columns are there? 3 columns. Those many properties I'll have. Finally, you'll understand how the TOs will be designed. How many properties will be there in the TO? Slowly you'll understand. Simply as it is, you'll not fill properties. So you'll write int SID, then you'll have what? String name, then you'll have string phone and setter getters, setters and getters. Yeah, this side you'll have what? Class address TO. Now address TO will have values from which table? Address. You will write the query, you will join, write the query, fetch the values, all that you will do. But when you retrieve the values, they are in the result set. From the result set, you will put it into two TOs now. Understood? You'll iterate or whatever it is and put it into two TOs. You'll understand that. So here you'll have what? Int address ID. Then string area. then string city, then string country. That is okay. But now when you want to send values from one layer to another layer, you have to send 2 to TO now. That becomes very absurd. You'll collect it, but you'll be having multiple layers in MVC, model, view, controller layer. What happens? From servlet the values have to go to model layer, from model it has to come to view. Like that it will be moving around everywhere. So unnecessarily, imagine your parameters of the method will be 2 to TO. And if you want to return 2 TO from a method, it will not be possible because the return type of a method is always single data type. So that's why what we do, we'll put this into another TO. Just understand that one TO will be there in another TO. Just I'm giving you some idea why one TO will have another TO as a property. So here what we do, address TO of address I'll write. So you are having TO inside TO now. And you'll have segregator for what? Address also. All that is okay. So your servlet will connect to database, fill the values, and it will send it to what? How it will fill the values, you know? I'll show you the code. First it will create the address object. It will fill the values. Okay. From the result set it will fill. Then it will create the student object. And then it will fill the values. All the values it will fill. And then it will forward to JSP. Finished. So in the JSP you have to get the display now. So how you store the values in primary memory is your wish. So developer will have 1000 ideas to store the values in the primary memory. Either in a user defined type or in a map or in a collection, however it is. But when you store the values, finally it has to be displayed in the JSP now. So we need rich support now for displaying now. Understood? So that's why these JSP people will give you very rich support for displaying now. So now what we do, we'll display now. Supposingly I put it into one session scope. Okay, means session dot set attribute of STO. I can fill it and send it. First see the servlet code, then we'll come to the JSP code now. So the whole idea is this. So we are right now focusing on TO inside TO. Understood? And as I told you, the TO you see now, the first one is the address TO. See this, how it looks? It's having area, city, country. And the other one is the student TO. It is having student ID, name, phone, address. So I'll have set address and get address also. Clear? All this will be there. That is okay. Now in the servlet, say, once I get the ID, here I am hard coding. But only difference would be, we'll be getting it from database. So once I get it, what do you do? See the ID is there now. I'll create the address TO, fill the values, but we are hard coded. That's all difference. Okay. Then I'll create the TO and put the address into what? Student. Fine. Now I'll send the TO now. Only one TO I have to send now. Yes? So that's how it goes. Now what I'll do? Simple. Session dot, depends which scope you want, you put, send it now. So this becomes the key now. Okay. Now in the JSP you have to display with EL dot JSP. Okay. I'll go to with EL later. Okay. Here the values are there in TO now. If you want, you can display it using what? Standard actions. We can display it using standard actions. See the standard actions. First I'll show you the problem with standard actions. This is the file name standard.jsp, means standardactions.jsp. See this, you will display like this. How will you display? Get property. Name is equal to STO, property is equal to student ID. This one, name is equal to STO, property is equal to name. Name is equal to STO, property is equal to phone. These three will display, no problem. Address it can't display. Yes or no? Because if you try to display address, you know what it prints? It prints the reference value or address of address object. I'll show you the output first, this one. So this is where we have restrictions using what? Standard actions. Standard action is good, but there are some restrictions when we use standard actions. Like this TO inside TO it cannot display. Okay, so these are the problems. So see the output standard.jsp. I'll show you. So in the servlet, I'll forward it to what? First I'll show you this output, then I'll go to EL. Standard.jsp. Getting it now, I changed it. Okay, so it will display now. So let's see the output now. Login.html, run as so this is the ID. So I'll enter 101 or something and submit. Fine, it went to the standard.jsp. Get property it is displaying, get property of name, get property of phone. But area, see, it will display like this. How it will display? It's not possible. It is totally invalid. Understood? Means internally it will be executing the toString method of address. And toString of address object will give you what? Address only. This is the problem. Understood? Other three things it's fine. So that is when we start depending on what? EL, expression language. Brilliant it is. Now see the navigation. I change it to with EL.jsp now. Now you see the navigation. See this? See the access how I do. This is okay for you. It doesn't make any difference. Session scope is what? Map. This is key. That is, again these two, this is bean, that is property. This I explained in the previous example only. Map, key, bean, property. This one is now bean, property, bean, property. So ID, name, phone you can get. But this is very interesting now. Session scope is what? Map. STO is what? Key. Now STO is what? Bean. Address is what? Property. Now address is what? Bean. Area is what? Property. So like that it moves. You can start accessing deeper. To any extent you can go. Understood? Just I showed you to one extent. Clear? So map, key, that is okay. These two over now. Don't see this only. You better what you do. You are seeing this now. You should not see this part only. Just focus on two. Map, key. Now those two over. Now come to these two. Bean, property. Means segregator. No, STO is saying what? Segregator means it's a bean only. Anything which has segregator is a bean. Now again address. Address is what? Bean. Now this is property. Now carefully see in the servlet. In servlet, this is the map. Session scope dot, this I said. Yeah, STO. That is okay. Now in STO, we are trying to access what? Address. And address should be small. Remember this name and in your student, what you got? This should be same. You should mention the property name. And again address, in address to your area. That's what we have written here with el.jsp. Okay? So now it will search only in session scope. This you know now. It will search from page scope. And now see the access, how it's happening. Deeper access. Bean. Property. These two only, these two you see. Then again address is bean. This is property. That's the idea. So very rich support. If this support was not there, imagine your Java code. How much you have to write? For 1T only, in the previous example I showed you how much you write. For 1T only, previous example you see. Single T only, how many code you will write with scripting? See, like this much of code you have to write. TO in TO, imagine how much of Java code will come. So one is, you struggle little hard to learn things. Little hard means 1 day, 2 day. And look at the benefit you get now. Throughout your life you can luxuriously code. Or you don't put effort for 2 days. Throughout your life you have to struggle coding all the JSPs. Anytime you start writing a JSP you have to struggle. So one option is struggle for lifetime. Other option is struggle for 2 days, only for learning. You struggle for 2 days, now you are completely having a relaxed life. Throughout your life you can code very easily. So that is the reason, is why I am telling you, I am teaching you like this is, means developer is having every support for coding. Only you should have patience in understanding the concept. Once you understand, then you can code any complicated applications. Your requirement will be very complicated when you develop applications, and all this will play very rich support while developing an application. That's it. Clear? So fine. Are you clear with this concept now? Okay. So that's why I showed you the previous example with the single TO, and in the next example I showed TO within TO. This is the most important example. Which one? All these examples, whatever I am working now, starting from where? Accessing attributes. 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th also I completed. Yeah? Okay. Now you got the grip of what is dot operator. Now we'll say a square bracket. Sometimes you'll fill the values into what? Array list. Say I want to display only names. Now you don't need a TO, no? Yes or no? So think. So like that, developer will have his own idea. When writing the logic, he'll connect to database. He'll fetch the values. Now all the names, only name I want to display. How many students are there in database? I want to display. Now in this scenario, you cannot write a TO only. How will you fill the values in the TO? It's impossible. So obviously you start using data structures. Which one? List or something like that. So I'll fill it now. Once you fill the value in the list, see the code, very simple. See the first page, and I'm having nothing here. Just I'll have one submit button. Click here to see all students. Nothing else is there. One button will be there. Once you click it, it will come to the servlet. Flow is same always. We are going to servlet, and via servlet only we are going to JSP. In the JSP, see, sorry, this is array list. I should show you. This is array. 10th example. You see, this is the same thing. HTML. Click here to see all student names. He will submit it. Once he submits, what will happen? I am hard coding, but these values will come dynamically. Now you tell me, can I use TO here? No, practically no. I'll use list only, because we can't predict the number of names. We'll fill it, and then I'll send it, put that list into what? Session, and I'll forward it. Now in JSP you have to display now. Now with standard actions can you display? Standard actions, remember, it's only for TO. Never forget that. And that too single property. Property inside property, no. Standard actions. So here, standard action will not give you support. Only alternate option is what? EL, to the rescue. How will you do now? With, see, first I will show you with, if, without, which one? By scripting I will show you. Scripting.jsp. See, this is how you have to write. Very hectic coding. Session.get attribute, iterator. See how much coding you are doing now. Ridiculous. Now with EL, very simple. Three ways are there. I show you all. Session scope dot list names means what? All the names it will print in one line. It's something like SOP array list. Understood? Otherwise, if you want to print only one by one, you can go like this. Session scope dot list names of 0. Now see, again come now. Session scope dot list names map. List names is key. Again, session scope here is what? Map. List names is what? Key. But again, if you see these two, this is list, this is index. Only two you take. These two you take first. Map, key. Now find again these two if you take, this is list, this is index. Finished. Understood? So 0th index, first index, if you want to display any particular value, that also you can do by specifying the index. So one option is this, second option is this. Here it will print all the names, remember. Here, particular one. Here also see, I don't have to use session scope. Without session scope only I can do what? List names of 0, 1. Again the syntax, if you want to understand, left hand side is list, right side is index. List, index, list, index, list, index, list, index, list, index. That is what I had mentioned in the document. What I had mentioned? Yeah. These two okay. List, index. Yeah? Okay. You have to see only the output now. What is there? I am just giving you some more examples on EL. That's it. To make you comfortable. In fact, all the objects are completed. See, click to see all student names. When I submit, you know the flow. Servlet to JSP. This is one I told you, it will print all the names. This is with by using index, session scope dot list names of 0, session scope dot list name of 1, like that. This is only what? List names of 0, 1, 2, 3. So all this, see, these are the 3 ways I got. This is one, okay, and this is the other one. This is the 3 output I got. So any one you display. Yeah? If you got this idea, now array is going to be that dead simple only. Same thing I am doing. HTML is there. Next example now. This is with array. Okay. So now I will go to servlet. In servlet I am filling the values in what? Array. So how you fill the values, where you fill the values, your wish. Developer can fill the value in any object and then he'll forward it to JSP. So in JSP you want support now. So if the value is there in the which one? Array, now we have to see how to display. Yeah? So it will go now. Imagine with scripting, standard actions again will not give support. Again scripting is very headache. So I have not written the scripting for this. If you want to write it with el.jsp, you go simple, same story. Array index. Again if you see syntax, map key. Array index. Array index this time. Array index, array index, array index, array index. Simple. That's it. So you want the output, same thing it is. Only I have filled the values in array, that's it. Yes, sir. Same output, there's hardly any change. Remember the values are there in a array, that's it. Done? Yeah, now it becomes interesting. Sometimes you will fill the values in map. You know, hash map, tree map. Okay, you will fill the values in map. So when you fill the values in map, let's see how you access the values now. This is it will give you a very clear idea now of how things work here. Okay, see this. User will make a request, show.html. He is going to enter his ID. From the database, you have to collect values and display. Fine, you will do it. But I am hard coding. This is servlet. Look now. What I have done? I created a map object. And this is key, this is value. Again, this is key, this is value. This is key, this is value. This is key, this is value. Yes or no? So I filled. After filling that, now this student, I'll put it in session object. So remember, HM student is right now what? Key. This is key. So now let's see. It will be forwarded to JSP. So in EL, with el.jsp, see how you get the display? Yeah, session scope is what? Map. Session scope is map object. HM student is key. If you take these two, now if you take these two, this is map, this is key. So that's how. Deeper access it will go. One fine day will get comfortable. Just code some more examples, you get comfortable. Map, key. Student ID, name, phone and city and all are what? Key na? Where? In the solid you only filled. Yes. So in here how it works now? Session scope is map object now. HM student is what? Key. Again HM student is technically what? Map. It is not having segregator methods. HM student is not having segregator. So obviously it is a map object. It's not list also. So it's map. If this is map, in square bracket it is key. That's it. You can display. Simple. So this way also you will fill. So you will be filling the values in many ways. In solid. Sometimes in TO, sometimes in list, sometimes in array, sometimes in map. But EL is very powerful. It will give you the support for retrieving the value from any data type you have stored. Done? Unlike standard actions which will give you support only for a single TO. That's it. Inside TO you should not have TO. Yeah, so the user will enter now ID 101 or something. Same thing it will display. See, with EL. If you display like this, key value both it will display. This is one output. One more output is displayed like this. This is the other display, second display. One more output is like this are displayed. Yeah? Fine. So these many examples are covered. That's more than sufficient. Using what? EL and dot operator. So today my focus was what? A real time practical scenario and difference between dot operator and square bracket. That's it. Most of all concepts are covered in the last class only. This I showed you practical usage, how it is used. So now we'll come to the last object, which is page context. So the 11th object, page context. First see the notes. It is not an EL implicit object. That is why it's not an EL implicit object, because it's not of type map. All objects are of type map. Only page context is of type what? See this. It refers to a page context object only. But technically if you say, okay, I'll come back. Now JSP EL page context implicit object is provided to get additional properties from request, response and all that. Okay, I'll come to that point. Now, okay, let me put this point on the top first. Anyway, no problem, just one point. Yeah. So it is of type page context. And what is page context first of all? It is also a kind of TO or bean only. You know what is page context? It will have some properties and it will have segregator methods. You will call now PC dot get session, PC dot get request, PC dot get response. You are calling getter methods only. It's also nothing but one bean. So anything with properties and segregator method is called what? Bean only. Or TO or VO. Anything you can tell. Practically if you see, it is also one. See this, I'll show you the API if you want. This is page context. So these are some properties. Understood? And see here, get request, get response means what? It will be having properties and segregator methods for that. Setter methods, they are not made it visible. Okay. For the developer, they are exposing only getter methods, because setter methods of the page context will be called by the container. Understood? So here you have got only getter methods. So now you can access PC.get request, return type is what? Request. PC.get response, return type is what? Response. PC.get anything, session, whatever, it will give you return type. So it's almost all like a bean only. Yes? So that's how it works. So yes, we'll come to what is page. I'll give you a simple example for page context and conclude now. So that's how your class page context is. Class page context. So it has some properties like servlet, request, servlet, response, like that it will have. Okay, still more it will have. It will have session also, it will have everything, it will have HTTP session and segregators. So technically if you see, this is also on bean only, nothing else. Similarly your request also, your request object is there, HTTP select request. See, this is how HTTP select request is there. It is also nothing but one kind of T or bean only. You might be thinking it's a very complicated class and all that. Nothing. What the vendor does now, accepting the values from the use, which one? That HTTP request body, it will retrieve the values and put it into what? Request object. That's all it will do. By calling what? Setter methods. So some of this one here are string, method, get method is there, no? Request.get method. Then you got request.get protocol. So many are there. Parameter is also there. Because so many properties are there. Okay. These are all header information. Get method. I show you the HTTP select request also. And accordingly it will have segregator methods. Now here what you have to understand. Okay. See, like select request, even you have got session also. In session also you have got some segregator methods. In session also. So some segregator methods will be there in every class. And the segregator methods, why they are provided is to give you the value stored in the instance variable, nothing else. If there is a class, no, okay, see, generally what happens is whenever you write a class, the instance variables of the class should not be modified. So that's why what they do, they make it private and they'll give that access only through segregator methods. That's the idea of designing a class many times. Okay, so you'll have the class private properties, segregator methods. So if at all you want to modify, you should call the setter method only, restricted. Understood? And if you want, you can call it access the value with getter method. So many times a class will be designed like this. So that's how your request object will be designed, response object will be designed, select context object is designed, okay, HTTP session is designed. So sometimes we want the values from these objects. Which object? Request object, session object, context object. How will you get now? Using EL, means without writing Java code. If you want, you can do it. See, if I want any of the, means the client has made a request. Example, take this. In JSP now, I want to find out which method is the request he is making, means get request or post request and all that. So in JSP I can get that information by writing what? Request.get method or request.get query string, request.get URI, any information I can get. I can get it, I'm not saying no, but I'm writing Java code. Yes? And you'll be working with which object this time? Request implicit object. That is JSP object. Since you are working with JSP object, you have to write Java code only. And one thing what you have to understand is, some header information will be written by calling get header method. Some header information. Last class I showed you get header. Some client information we get it with request.get header. Some client information we get it with these methods also. So what you can get with get header, that you can do it with header and header values, implicit object. What values you can access from request object with request.get header or get headers can be done with header and header values, EL implicit object. But there are other values which are there in the request object, like method, protocol and all that. So that, how will you access now? You can't access only. Yes or no? Because in JSP, if I write like this, dollar of request dot what? Method, this is what? Request object is not there. Is request an EL implicit object? It is not now, it is a JSP implicit object. So you can't access it like this. So that is when what we do now, we go through page context. What we do with EL? Dollar of page context dot request. Request is on property. Request is on property now. See, I'll explain the syntax. Request dot, then again method, finished, over. So sometimes we start routing like page context, like this. Now again, if you want me to explain the syntax, page context is bean. This is property. See, in page context this is a property. Again, what is request? Bean. And method is what? Property. I'll show you the Java code for that. Understood? So if you want, you write Java code or you write EL and display like this. Clear? Clear this? Fine. So some header information we get it with what? Some header information we get it with request.get header. Some information we get it with page result, from the request object, like this. Some we get it with request.get header. Some we have to call this method, request.get method, request.get protocol, that you have to call. Clear? Fine. So I'll show you an example and finally you'll understand everything. See this is how you get request.get method, request.get protocol. So if it is a getter method, get method, definitely on property is there in the request object called as method now. Similarly, if there is a get protocol, definitely there is a method called as what? Protocol in the request object now. So whenever you say getter method, get that idea. Return type is string and I can display it, no problem. But instead of writing Java code, I can do it with EL. Simple. Page context is bean now. This is property. Again, this is bean, this is property. So internally remember, now finally I'll tell you one thing, most important, write it down. We are accessing properties, but we are never accessing the properties. Internally when you tell the property, no, the getter method will be called. You can never access the properties, they are private. Even in standard actions, JSP get property, property name you will tell, no. JSP set property, whatever you tell, set property, get property, you will be mentioning the property names. But you will never be accessing the properties. What property name you give, that corresponding setter getter methods will be called. Internally, container will call it. Yeah? So we give only the property name. Because properties are private, remember always. That is very important. So whenever you start working from now on with properties, getter methods will be calling. So that's what is happening now. Request is get request and method is get method. Fine. So let's see the output. So for this I'll go with what? Login.html. There's no use of this HTML page. Simply I'm entering one first name. No use. There's no use of this. Directly it will come to what? JSP. See, from login.html I'm coming to JSP. I'm not doing anything with that. With el.jsp and displaying what type of a request it is and all that. Okay? So it is what type of a request? Get type of a request. Default is get now. Form action. You change it to post. There it will display. Something you enter q post. Done? You can get the values like that. So instead of writing Java code, you'll go with EL like this. Done? Now some more header information I'll show you. Because this header information are very vital. Later on when you develop applications you will understand. Like example I'll tell. Now still you are working on browser. Later on the request can be made from where? A mobile application also no. Today mobile phones only are accessing what? Web applications a lot. So sometimes you should know who the user is, and depending on the client you should see to that your page is getting displayed. See, if it is browser, the entire content can be displayed. Okay, no problem. Okay, and one more thing, don't think what you write in your application will be displayed in a standard way in all the browsers. In Firefox it will display in one style. Same output, you see it. You have coded many JSPs. You open, one time you see in Firefox, you can see some variation will be there. You are written very simple code, hardly 2 lines, 3 lines output. Okay, but there will be a variation. And in Firefox it will print in one way, Chrome it will print in one way, display in one other way. So there is no standard way you will be getting the output. So sometimes what happens, you have to know who the user is and then give back the response. So that is when it becomes important. This you'll understand in companies. So how do you get which client is making the information? Means which browser and all that. So some more information I'll give you now. Okay, so just see this, almost all that is there in the third example only I think. Yeah, I'll do one thing, I will create one project here. I don't want to change that, so I'll go with 14. Request or header values only I'll give. Sorry, new Java, one second, new project, dynamic web project, next. In order to create the project now, you have 14, header only I'll display. Yeah. Next. Yeah. So here, all unwanted tags you remove. So I'll need the 2 jar files, I'll add it direct. and these two I'll copy and paste directly, nothing else. These two JSPs I want to display. Yeah, some more values I'll display, but nothing else. So string X, let's copy. String Y is equal to request dot get header. See, some information we get it with request header. Example would be user hyphen agent. These are predefined keys. Predefined, you cannot give anything of your own. User agent. Similarly, string Z, request dot get header of accept encoding. Something I'm giving, slowly you'll understand later, but just see how to get the value. Some information you get, say, by saying calling those methods, get method, get protocol, get IP address, all that you can call. Some you'll be getting like this. These are the two locations where you can get your values. Yeah, let's see the output. First I'll show you with scripting, then I'll show you with EL. Directly run as okay, value of header means here they are using which browser, you know, Eclipse. Mozilla they are using. Eclipse is using Mozilla. Or leave this, I show it from outside only. I'll go with Chrome. Now this is also what? Some client Chrome browser. Okay, something there, it's giving you something. Encoding is gzip, deflate, something like this. Header information, you know, that I had covered. So like this you can get the information, means Windows client information, Windows something and all, some information is there, leave it. Slowly you'll understand how to use all this. This is the agent. Who is the agent? The client. This is the agent. Depending on that you'll generate your response and give it. Later on you'll understand. These are the hi-fi things. These are very hi-fi things. When you work with applications you'll understand. Just I showed you how to get the header information about clients. Fine, means you'll call request.get header method or request.get protocol and all that. The same now, how will you do it with EL? No? Yes. Header of, I'll use square bracket and show you. Now what is that? User agent. Similarly, accept encoding. So plenty of information you can collect from the client. Similarly, there is one accept language. You can put that accept language. Okay, here for that alternate what you'll write? Accept language you'll write. String A I'll write. Accept language. I'll explain what is language. Done? So like this. So if it is Java, you'll write like this. But if it is EL, you'll write like this. That's all the difference is. Now I'll show you the output with EL. That's it. Accept language, accept encoding. Sorry, I copied and pasted. I didn't change it. Accept. Okay. So I'll make you understand this code now. Little to one extent because this is very hi-fi. Say I'll open. First I'll close this. Yeah, I'll open Internet Explorer. Internet Explorer now. I'll make the request. With EL or scripting also you do. That is secondary now. So this is the client information you can get. Now this is very important. Accept language. All these are very important. Okay, why means, see the user when he makes the request now, he'll be selecting a language. In Google and all, you'll select the language now. English, Hindi. So depending on that value, what you should display. Your application should give the, that's called as I-18N, internationalization. There's one concept, internationalization. Okay, see when the user makes the request for English, okay, your application should display back in what? English. If he makes a request for Hindi, it should display in what? Hindi here. Now, your application cannot do all that automatically. Server cannot do. So, we write some extra code. That is, next I will be covering how to do I-18 and all that. But which language you want to display that information you want now? So, how this information is coming now? You might be thinking, user did not give anything only. en_us, he didn't give only. Fact is here, I show you. In one browser, the setting will be done in one way. Here, tools, internet options, languages. You can see here. So this is the browser information. So user, if he wants to see in other language now, what will the user do? Add, and he'll make the request. Like here in our application, we are not supporting still now. But this is how the client will decide to see the language. So here you'll do what? Hindi I'll show you if you want. Gujarati or something. See? Okay. 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 And you say okay now. So but right now in our application it's not there. But if he makes the request, okay, that should be on the top. One more thing. What you select should be on the, after selecting it should be moved up. Like this. Okay. Okay. Then still it's not happening. Once again we'll open a new browser. Like that we start getting the information. Just understand the concept. Okay, GUIN. All the information will come, but the first one will be used. In the list, whatever is there, it will be done. But nowadays we have got very good UIs. So the user is not going to change. Where? Here, you did it in what? If it is Internet Explorer, where did you do? You went to tools, internet options. Here you did languages. But nowadays we don't do it like that. I'll just show you. See, okay, it's on the top now. Okay, okay. All this is okay now. See, again I moved it back to what? English now. Okay, see this. I'll show you Gmail only now, how it works. So this is Google now. It's displaying me in what? English. Why? Because tools, internet options, languages, English is on the top. I can add the n number, but first preference will be given to the one on the top. Supposing I change it to Gujarati or something, or I'll make it Hindi better. Hindi will be definitely there. Google people have to support now all the languages. So like that when you write Hindi, yeah, okay. So when you write, you should write support now. You should give the support in your application. So your application has to give the support for multiple languages. Because remember, it's a web application and your application can be accessed in any country. Means if you write such a good application. But generally we develop applications for organizations, standard. And in organizations or companies for whom you develop, there they require the display only in English. That will only remain. But just I am giving you an idea what is internationalization. So I'll say okay now. I said I didn't scroll up. Internet options, languages, Hindi, move up. Okay, okay. Yeah. So now we'll open. That information went. So now it's displaying in Hindi. But nowadays what has happened is these browsers, these applications only. See, I'll open. I'll open now in Chrome. I'll open now. 1 second. I'll open in Chrome now. So I'll close this 1 second. I'm opening Chrome now. See, what is happening is nowadays here there only they give option. 1 second. It's not here. Their home page. 1 second. I type www.google.com. Yes, see this. They are making the user more user friendly. That's all. You don't have to go to settings and change the options and all that. Okay. He'll select here only Hindi, Bengali, whatever it is. So like this, if he selects, it will display me back in Hindi now. So one option is you go and make the settings in the browser. But today applications are making it more user friendly. Whatever language you want, because see how many people know Till now I showed you how to make the changes. Where I showed you? In Internet Explorer, you have to go and make the changes there and then make the request. How many people know how to do it? So that's why they make it more user friendly. Like that, what happens is you will need the client information. Many information you will need, because when the user makes the request is coming from which IP address? That you have to log into your database. Yes or no? It will be very helpful. So logging the IP address of the client, getting the request means which language the user wants to see the application, then who is actually making the request, whether a mobile phone or a browser. So all that information you need. So and these informations are needed when you write big applications, not small time applications like what? Enterprise applications and all that. When you write an application supporting multiple countries and all that, or multiple devices, like phone and all that, then you will need all this information. So that time all this will come very handy for you. Just I have given you some information. Till now we have written web application from institute point of view, and we are working only on browser. But remember, for your application clients, there are various kinds of clients. In browser only, so many types of browsers are there. And apart from browser, you have got even phones. Like that, many things are there. So all will be making the request, and your application should support all these users. So when a customer gives the order to the company, which company, Infosys, Wipro and all, they will give their requirement. See, I need a web application, one side that requirement is over, and they will also tell parallelly, my application should be supported by these many devices, these many browsers and all that. They will give requirement. According to that, they will develop the web application. Clear? And for all that, you need this information. That's all I am telling you. Clear? So that's it about this is nothing to do with EL. I just gave you some extra information, or what is header info. Clear? Fine. So I will bring it back to what? See, this is the option you do it in. Again, don't go and try it in what? In Chrome. I don't know where is that option in Chrome now. How to change the settings and all. So in one browser, they will give one option to change or set the language. Here it is not there now. Tools, internet options, where will you search? But you have to go and search now. Here you have got settings. Here you have to go and do it. In one browser, that option will be provided in one location. But nowadays it is more user friendly like this. If I click again English name, English will be displayed. Done? So we will be covering internationalization, a very interesting subject. You don't have to worry. That will be coming into JSP. In the next advanced technology, I will be teaching you IIT. Very simple it is. 2-3 files you write, it will become over. That's it. So easy. That's the rich support you have got. Fine. So now we'll conclude with page context. What is page context? Last thing. JSPL EL page implicit object is used to get additional properties. Additional property information. From which one? Request, response, session, anywhere you can get. For example, getting HTTP request method or HTTP request protocol, anything like that. Done? Fine. Now some more interview questions now. On which one? EL. EL is over. Some interview questions on EL now. How can you disable EL in JSP? One interview question. I have already told you. There are two ways. One is locally, one is globally. This is also correct. Means they are actually trying to find out how many tags you know. So this will affect only one JSP, but this will affect what? All the JSP. This is one of your important interview question. Globally and locally. Done. Then next in EL, some more interview questions. Yes. Got it now? Two ways. I have covered that. This you understand. And some more interview questions like this. Very clearly they'll ask. They'll not ask anything about EL. Simply he'll question you. I want to add two numbers. 2 and 2. How will you do it? It's one interview question. So how will you do? You can write custom tags also, as well as EL also you can use. So if you tell I'll use custom tag, he'll tell no, I don't want to write such complicated logic. I just want to add only two numbers. How will you do? You can tell EL. So how will you write $of 2 plus 2 over? It will do the addition. Now remember, you should understand now. So to do addition, whether EL is better or custom tags is better, that difference you should understand. See, if you write a custom tag, that custom tag can be used in any JSP. Reusability. Remember that. But if you write EL, that code you have to write in all the pages. Okay, like that, small differences will be there. You have to understand. But you can do the addition using what? EL also or custom tag also. You should look which one is more simple to you in your scenario. In your scenario, if you feel custom tag is good, do that. In your scenario, if you feel this one is good, do that. It's good support what you got. Finally, last to conclude, one more interview question is, in EL, why there are two operators? Like for greater than, you are having this sign also and as this also. Yes or no? Why there are two operators for greater than? Okay, greater than equal to GTG. I'll show you all the operators. These are all what? Relational operators. Why there are two operators like this? Okay, even for modulus, MOD, you are having, sorry, ulta, right? Percentage, you are having what? MOD, modulus operator. Why there are two operators? Very simple. See, sometimes you will be giving a value to an attribute, H colon, example. There is one H colon fun tag. And I want to give the value to an attribute. Where is equal to 5 greater than 2. Means true or false value I want to give. So when you want to give the true or false value, see, these are the operators. I'll show you first. Yeah, see this? Greater than GT. Where it is? See this side. Greater than GT, smaller than table I have mentioned. Yes? So when you are using it, you can use it as what? See, like this. You can use it. Okay. Like this also you can write 5 greater than 2, or like this also you can write. Fine, it is correct. 5 greater than 2 return type will be what? Means it will be evaluated to true. Fine. But why did they give you two options? If you have that question, or if interview they ask you the question, see this H colon fun is on tag, one custom tag you think. Okay. And for this tag I want to give a value. And where is a attribute? Where is an attribute now? For this attribute I have to give a value, true or false value. So now means I want to give the value which will be evaluated of 5 greater than 2. Whatever the value. Okay. So now what I'll do, dollar of open flower braces 5 greater than 2 if I write, it will get confused. Why it will get confused? It will think the end of tag. See this is tag open now. Here only it will think as what? You are putting the symbol. But it will think this is the end of tag. The JSP conversion during compilation and all, it will get doubt. So that is when what you do, when you are giving values like this, slowly you will understand. So EL is so powerful, you can start using it what? To give value to attributes and all. So powerful it is. So in this case, I'll be forced to use what? GT. Now your problem will be solved. That's the reason they are giving you these two operators. Like that, some small interview questions are there, practice it. Clear? Are you clear now? So now it is not confused. This is the opening tag, this is the closing tag. But if I write it here, this will be treated as end of tag. Confusion, and it will tell you are not closed the tag properly. You have written the tag but you have not closed it, some errors it will start giving. So that's why you better use GT here. Clear? Okay, there are some interview questions on EL. Yeah, that's it.